activity, and I
Hmm.
thank God for that.
Yes. Well, anyway, Gary, I'll pass the baton to you. So,
And before he passes the baton, Oliver, Oliver said your volume was low, so you just got to turn up your mic volume.
who, Gary's or mine?
Gary's, yep.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm gonna turn off I'm gonna mute myself and let Gary take over.
All right, Carl, if you're at the ready,
Yep, we're live, ready to go.
great. I'm seeing my face on the screen. I don't even like seeing myself, let alone the audience. I'm sure they have a hard time dealing with me. Let's open up in a word of prayer. Let's see, Sir Tommy, if you're available, could you please open us up in prayer?
Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful Sabbath day. We ask that you continue bless this program and throughout the week until, Lord willing, next day in the Word. Please, Lord, help us with our debts, our sins, our faults. And Lord, we ask you to this program give you all praise until the next program. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Tommy. I was watching some of the tracting videos of previous trips. So my son, he likes to watch a lot of the tracting videos. By the way, we have a YouTube channel called Publish the Truth, Conceal It Not. Can you guys hear me? Do you hear any background noise?
You sound fine. Yeah, no
Okay,
background noise.
very good, very good. So there's a YouTube channel called Publish the Truth, Conceal It Not. I'm not sure if you all have looked at it and subscribed. When we have tracting little shorts that we do, we no longer put that on E-Bible Fellowship's page, nor on the Bible Exalted YouTube page. It's on the Publish the Truth, Conceal It Not page. And my son likes to watch that on Sundays. Lots of tracting videos because there's lots of videos and content on that channel. And you can support that channel by putting in comments. I haven't talked about that in a while, but there's so much videos. I heard someone say there's so many programming, it's hard to keep up. And I'm sure you all would agree with that. There's lots of programming out there. But your comments are really appreciated. It helps push this channel to many other people. And as you see now, with all the turmoil that's going on in the world, I'm sure people are trying to draw conclusions about what's going on in the world. And here is a faithful ministry, E-Bible Fellowship. So your comments, especially with all the craziness that's going on in the world now, I'm sure it would be a real blessing. All right. So Carl, if you're there, we've been
Hmm.
talking about the timeline quite a bit, and it's been very challenging trying to explain some of these patterns. I know many of you, including myself, we feel very detached from the timeline. But the more we do it, the more familiar we get with it. So hopefully we can dedicate a few minutes each program to just understanding some of the basics and hopefully build from there. We talked about the solar calendar and the lunar calendar. And Carl, do you mind just spending a few minutes just recapping some of the basics? I know you came across some new information, but do you mind just doing a recap of how do we find the Passover date with the sun and the lunar calendar once again, and then perhaps we can build on some of the new information and stuff on there for a few minutes.
Yeah, no problem. If you just give me about a minute to set up, I
Good.
could have that
Since we
ready.
have a minute, I want to show you guys something. Um, if anyone was at the recent Chinese New Year event in Chinatown, New York City, Miss Michelle, can you? I'm going to play this video. If you don't mind, please tell the folks what it was like during that time where we were uh, amongst so much people. I'm going to try to find the video and play it so folks can see what that was like when we were around so many people. I actually recorded some of that incident.
Hello.
See there. Just give me a moment. I'm going to try to find this video. Just give me a moment.
Oh, thank you. I accidentally muted again.
No problem. No problem. Yeah. That was the Chinese New Year parade. I think it was March. Forgot the date in March.
Are you talking about Flushing or?
Yeah, no. I think it was Manhattan, Chinatown on Canal and Mott Street.
Oh, right. His work. Let me see what date.
We went to a corner and there were so many people there. I actually have some photos that I'd like to share with you. I'm just going to go to the channel.
Was that the last weekend in February? I think.
No, I think it was March.
Oh, March 1st. It was March 1st.
Yes. We got into a busy alleyway and I uploaded the video. I'm going to show folks. It's called A Thronging Crowd. So I just want you all to see this. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. I'm going to see if I can share my sound as well. All right, here we go.
Okay, here we go. Excuse me. Pardon me.
Just to let you all know, it actually got tighter. We actually pushed forward into this crowd to the point where we couldn't move any further. So this is where we actually got stuck with all these dear people. We couldn't move. We couldn't move to the left. We couldn't move to the right. It got so tight, I had to drop my tracks. My tracks fell to the ground. I couldn't even bend down to pick them up. I couldn't even bend down to pick up my tracks. I had a sign, a cardboard sign on my side, and someone said, give me that sign, because she felt she was inappropriately brushed upon. So she used the sign as a shield to get her through, as we actually decided to go backwards, and we quit. We said, abort. It was so packed because there was the mayor of New York City. Everybody wanted to see him. And so I managed to, while we're in that thronging crowd, a little bit later, I raised up my hand so you guys could see just how deep this was. Here's a photo of that. That's the crowd. And I think I showed this to you guys last time. But it was just so packed. I mean, just a thronging crowd. And people were, I mean, so deep to see this gentleman. And they said, oh, we're here to see the mayor. And I said, I like the mayor, but I don't like him that much. we got to go. And most people were just stuck at that corner. And it was pretty intense. Wouldn't you say, Miss Michelle?
So sorry. I muted myself again.
That's good. You don't need Carl.
Yeah.
Carl's really good at muting.
I know. Yeah. That was very nerve-wracking and scary. I mean, like my son said, you almost couldn't breathe. We got so tight with people like back to back. I mean, I had my hands on front of a man in front of me to kind of like prevent me from shoving into him too much. I used my hands to try to keep and he wasn't happy and no one was happy. And I said, I'm so sorry. But, it was just, it was really a very scary moment because it seemed like nobody understood what was happening. And yet we all knew we were like tight and nobody could do a thing. We were just, like you said, you couldn't even look down to like touch anything below. Like you wouldn't have been able to bend down. We were that tight. We had to look up to breathe at one point. And
Yeah.
then, but you were good because you did the head count of everybody. You said, Michelle, then you head counted everyone after me. And then you said, retreat. And I actually thought, oh no, are you sure? Because it looks so tight behind me that I'm like, and you're like, no, retreat, retreat. And you found space, thank God.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a pleasure. It was a very cold day. If you go on Publish Your Truth, Conceal It Not, you'll see some more videos of the Chinatown event. This was Chinatown, Queens. And I just want to say there's a dear woman in the bottom left there. That's Miss Doreen. And I got to tell you, when it comes to tracting, Miss Doreen is a power tracker. And we don't want to lift man up, obviously. But there's just something very sweet about her. You can see her lovely smile there. Um, Miss
Yeah.
Doreen told me that while she was tracting, someone shoved her. Someone shoved her. And thank God she was able to, recover. And she tracks, I think she tracks by herself. So it just lets you know that when people are tracting, some folks might say, "Oh, we're doing it for vainglory," or it's whatever the case may be. But it's a risk out there. And Miss Doreen, as sweet as she is, as you can see, she has an apparatus there. It's a wonderful. She's got a wonderful sign. I'm hoping Eddie and I, when we go to the next day in the Word, we can get it adorned so it can have more stability and it's more functional for her because she's using like sign, like that wire sign that you use for lawn signs. It's very flimsy, and that's the sign from Bob Cotter. If you all remember Bob Cotter, he passed away almost 2 years ago, I believe. His sign is still feeding sheep. That's the sign that Bob Cotter made. It got James Hudson, Gary Latner. Gary said this might have been one of the better trips he's ever been on for Chinese New Year. So just a lot of encouragement, and just know that, when folks are out there, it's, they have to pray. We have to pray for protection, God's, protection, because this gentleman pushed, I don't know, gentleman, but this man pushed Doreen. And thank God there were people there and police to I believe apprehend that person. So when we're out there tracting, we are out there, and we are not only exposed to the weather, but we're exposed to people who may not be mentally well, or criminals, or whomever, and we ask for God's protection. So please pray for us when you see folks tracting out there. We are in the real world. This is, not everybody wants to see someone saying, why is the world so divided? This is not a welcome message to the world. We've got another picture here. Someone took a photo of us. This is the Chinese New Year, and you see Daniel in the background. He did some of the recording there. He did a fantastic job, and you can see we have our signs. I kept one back. Miss Antonia asked for one. She has one now. So typically these signs, they're made out of cardboard. We can just hang them or put them right by a trash can until the trash can truck comes, and they can last for who knows how long. So yes, it was a cold day. We were cold. Miss Antonia didn't have any gloves on. I had gloves. I should have given it to her now that I think about it.
No, she didn't.
My hands were toasty.
Oh, I saw the
And
gloves.
yeah, and Mr. Hudson there. We all just tried to be warm given the circumstances. And now look, if the people of the world can be out there, so can we. And we can rough it. And as I saw a post from Chris about the Lord's Day, having a nice hot soup right after the trip would have been really nice. We said, it's the Lord's Day. We're going to go home and have something hot, We're going to honor the Sabbath day. And even though our bodies are cold and, we're like, man, a nice hot soup would really hit the spot. But, God gave us the strength to continue on. And I thank God for you. Thank you, God, thank you all for, keeping us in prayer, those who couldn't make the trip. And hopefully there's some more photos and things like that. And Mark, Sir Mark, do you have any updates since that trip? I think you had a very good explanation of how things went in the past, but is there anything else you wanted to share about that?
Well, that trip was planned, but not perfectly planned. And like all plans, things change. And so it did change. And you just have to adjust to the change as best you can. And I'm glad it did change because I would be probably rolling in around 1 o'clock in the morning the following day, trying to get back, if that. And I did miss my train halfway back from San Francisco and caught the next train, which is fine. But I did wanted to share too that, I had recently met two young men um, a couple of days ago, and they were soliciting work to clean windows to make some money. But I approached them with the track, and I recognized one of them. I had given him a track probably 2 to 3 months ago, and he
Wow.
still had it in his wallet. I was like, that just it shocked me and caused me to pause for a minute. But I told him I gave the track to his friend and told him that there's some things that I can try to do to help them to maybe earn a couple more dollars for their whatever their cause was. And but that stuck out, and I needed to share that with with everybody here that you just never know. You think that oftentimes you're giving somebody a track and could very well be ended up in the round, in a garbage somewhere, or they keep it and they forget about it. And I don't know if this young man forgot about it, but when I mentioned that I had given him and I recognized him, he pulled it out of his wallet. That was a blessing. These two young men were 15 and 14.
Wow.
So I had a conversation with them about their age and how important it is to read that track and prayerfully read it. I mean, so, but regarding San Francisco, I wanted to say, and I think I might have mentioned last time, Homer Lee did tracking at the Fisherman's Wharf, and I met him today. We went to meet up and give some tracks to him, and we tracked at the special place that we meet. It's a produce stand off of the Highway 80 east west going to San Francisco, and we were able to pass out, I don't know, 15, 20 tracks. And then we decided that we'd spend a little more time coming back from that to go to UC Davis,
Hmm.
which is not a very warm environment necessarily for this particular information, but at the same time, it was received well, considering I had passed out all my English tracks in the course of going through the park that we went through. I met a couple and their cat, and then a, a, a group of four, and they received two of the people there did receive the tracks, and then other people along the way, and some of the vendors at this particular park. So it gives me hope that we'll go back to that particular university, because if you know anything about Davis, UC Davis, it's not very conservative, for lack of a better word. It's very open, and if you go from my place to Davis, you'll see on the overpass, banners of, you know, war this and this person and this president, that kind of thing. So, but it turned out to be a really nice afternoon for us, and to meet with him and encourage him. And he's constantly tracking periodically in his area of California. Um, but anything in particular about San Francisco? Only that we passed out all those tracks that I gotten, that you had mentioned that you had like 300 some tracks, and I went ahead and got 350, and they were all passed out within 3 hours of our time in San Francisco's. Should have gotten more. Next time I'll think bigger. I won't be so conservative, and see about doing a little more strategic planning on our trips out there.
Yeah.
So
Lord willing, hopefully we can do the Chinatown in the God willing the year 2027. We'll have tracks, and hopefully more folks can consider joining the team and plan ahead, because time's running out. And I got to tell you, Mark,
yeah.
you remind me of that time you spent with that gentleman, that young man in Belgium. Remember we were at that shop and you
Oh
saw that
yes.
young man, and he reminded you of someone, and you seemed to be
My
having
grandson. My grandson. He was tall and lanky, just like my grandson.
yeah, yeah. You seem to have really, nice interactions with young folks, and for him to have that in his wallet, that's very moving.
I'm
That's
very glad of that.
very moving. It's almost like it's in my wallet where I keep my funds. you know, that's really. That's really
It's
moving.
hopeful.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
it
hopeful
is.
because if you think about it, you're a young person. That person could have put it somewhere where it wasn't safe. He put it right where he kept his valuables, and I like that.
Mm,
It's
yes.
a great story. Thank you very much. May God bless you and all the future plans. May God keep you all safe and to continue doing this because tracting is not easy. But when you think about its purpose, you really forget about all the pain. You really do. You really forget about all the pain, and you really start to love your neighbor, and you're thinking about them and not yourself. Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Good.
All right. I just have a video that Miss Michelle sent. I'm going to see if I can play it. Let me see if I can open it. Okay, yep, it's a 1-minute video. I'm going to share my screen. I hope it's not upside down. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see it. All right, here we go. See, that was a great video. I'm sure some of us was like, "Man, how long are we going to watch that?" Right? And then you see this gentleman, he's delighted almost, he sees it in English and then he sees it in his language. He's like, "Oh, wow." So, when you give these tracks out just like Sir Mark was saying, you don't know who God is going to draw to himself when you see that interaction. Yes, that video was there and you're like, oh, when is this going to be over? Our flesh is so quick. And that's how it is when you're tracking sometimes. What time is it? How long am I going to be standing here? When is this going to be over so I can, finish the day? And then you see an interaction like that. And there were a couple like that today. And there's just so much content that I can share with you. Oliver, if you're on Facebook, Oliver did a brief video called All Things New. It was a Facebook video. He was talking about that. And it was good. And I saw that he had a couple of views on there. There's just so much content now that it's like we're swimming with things to share. And I have a couple of things I still want to share with you all. So I'm going to just do this really quick. This is a Facebook page here. We had some like-minded friends. They happened to just meet each other. Remember that video we shared too. Let me see. Here we go. If you all can see my screen, Mr. Osvaldo, he was tracting, and he came across with Joselito. He came across some like-minded friends. So I'm just gonna play this loop here. So these folks, they pass out tracks on their own. As you can see, they have their own shirts. And you see Osvaldo there. Osvaldo, if you're available, if you'd like to share anything about this encounter that you had, if you're there, sir. Yeah, I don't think he's in the program right now. But just more really nice interactions that you're seeing with folks meeting up with each other, encouraging one another. And this wasn't planned. They just happened to be at the same place at the same time. And that's really encouraging. All right. Carl, before we go to you, we have an episode of Busted where, I don't know if you remember, I was finding lots of false information that science, so-called science, was talking about things about fossils and dinosaurs. And let me see. I don't know if this is a repeat. What's that, Carl? You're on
I'll be
standby.
ready. I'll be on
Oh,
standby.
you're very kind. You're very kind. Okay. I have a couple of these here. I mean, this is, if you search, you can find this stuff. Okay, this says, beyond doubt, proteins in fossil form actual dinosaur, claims scientists. Where it says researchers have discovered clear chemical traces of collagen in a dinosaur fossil. And it says it refutes the hypothesis that any organics found in fossils must result from contamination. So basically, I was asking a question. They're finding proteins in these dinosaurs, right? If this is like tens of millions or hundreds of millions of years old, how can they be preserved this long? And so I decided to ask, Google and all of that. And I said, in order for a fossil to be a fossil, doesn't it have to be totally submerged in water and under pressure? And the answer that came back was yes. Over 90% of fossils have to be in a certain condition to become a fossil. You can't be a fossil by just being dried out. There has to be certain criteria that makes a fossil a fossil. And I said, oh, that's interesting. There's just another link here. Let me see if this is one very quickly. I really like this one. You're all going to enjoy this one. It says, 2 dog walkers discovered a 2,000-year-old footprint. Then the prints disappeared forever. So here are these. Remember, we talked about these footprints that these people claim to say are millions of years old or thousands of years old, and they just vanish away. So there's just so much science that even refutes their faulty science that just doesn't hold up. And I just thank God that all that's coming to light. Okay. Just one more video. I thought this was pretty interesting. And forgive me for taking so long here. Look at this video I'm going to share. I'm going to just hit pause. Yeah. Oh, Mark, I'm going to unmute you, sir, if you don't mind. You can please just go ahead, sir.
Yes, I wanted to add something that in our conversation today that reflected what Chris was talking about time. There's so little time. We've gone from, prior to May 21, 2011 and May 21, 2011 to now. And it just seems like just a couple of years ago. And it really mindset, if you really think about it, it's just a skip and your mind's already here at this time. Well, today I was talking to Homer Lee at this particular fruit stand, and he mentioned, his physical issue, that he didn't realize what was happening, and he fell unconscious on the ground, and he mentioned that could have been it for him. He could have been, he could have died at that time, and everything else that could be for him would end right then and there, outside of being with Christ. And I told him too that I had a somewhat of a same experience, only I didn't pass out. But the reality of health issues sneaking up on you really fast and taking you quickly without incident, really just you're gone, is very real. And so Chris's comment about utilizing what little bit of time we have. We should be praying for every aspect of this ministry because of the potential of reaching those ears and hearts to regenerate them, maybe those that were regenerated or those that were predestined to be saved. But utilizing our time it's a conflict of the natural tendencies of our flesh. That's a reality. I'm getting up older in my age, and it's harder to move faster, to think quicker, and to feel better, as quick as possible. But that doesn't mean you stop. I mean, the value of time that God gives you, either in prayer or activity of whatever it is that God can lead you to, now's the time. I mean,
Yeah.
traveling, I travel quite a bit, and anything could happen on the roadways or even in the air, whatever the case may be. So I really would encourage and request that, whoever is praying, continue to pray, and those that find this message, pray for them, pray for everybody. We need that.
Thank you. Very well said, brother, because like you said, Chris talks about wasted time. And for some reason, I think it just kind of clicks. It just makes sense. We got a few years left. I don't want to be running around thinking when I can do this now, when I can be who knows what's going to happen to me. My life, I'm not special. There's nothing special about me, for sure. So why would I take the risk and say, well, I'll get my act together later on when it's convenient, or any kind of procrastination. So thank you very much for sharing that, sir. I really, really appreciate it. Oh, by the way, April the 12th, 2026, National Cherry Blossom Festival. Calling all cars. April the 12th is the parade. And we've had some like-minded friends from the DC area, folks from Philadelphia, and even some folks from New York would come down and track. If you can't make it, that's fine. But by God's grace, I hope to be there. If I have to leave early in the morning and come back in the afternoon, God has given me a body. He's given me a desire to do this. And until he takes me out, because I'm not anybody special. I'm not a power tracker. I'm not the best of anything. My son says when it comes to recording and videos, I'm a far third place. He says Carl's number 1, Vincent is number 2, and I'm number 3. So I've got work to do to do a better job with some of my recordings. So listen, I'm not anyone special. There's better trackers. There's just about anything that I do when it comes to the ministry. There's someone better than me. But we want to be active, and that's not really the focus. It's, can I make myself available to do the will of God with the information that I have? How can I keep this to myself? It's selfish, very selfish, if I keep this to myself. All right, so Cherry Blossom Festival, April the 12th, Washington, D.C. Folks who've been there before, lots of Japanese folks are there, and people who like anime or Japanese oriented. I don't know if we have a Japanese track. Carl, do we have a Japanese track? If you're there, sir.
Yes, I believe we do. Yep.
Great. I'm going to see if I can print out a couple, because there are some pure Japanese speakers. They have this kind of seminar where they meet consulates, and I'm sure they do meetings and business deals with the government, because it is in Washington, D.C. And there are people directly from Japan who go there. So again, if you like to travel to Japan to go tracking, but you're never going to go there, these are these kinds of events that allow you to witness and to be with folks who are of that area. And they're going to tell you no, probably. They're not going to take the track and thank you just because, oh, I'm here for you. They're probably going to look right through you, but you're going to extend your hand. And God is going to take care of the rest, whether they take it, whether they don't. But that was your way of having an international trip. It's right here for us. Yes, it's a bit out of our way. We got to travel a few hours, but it's better than a 20-hour flight. Japan is coming to us as opposed to us coming to Japan. So again, Saturday, April 12th. Folks, if you can make it, we've gotten this down kind of to a science. We know where to park. We know where to walk. The weather's getting a little warmer. And please keep us in prayer for folks who can't make it, for folks who already pray for the ministry, that God would give us wisdom and strength and the resources and the health to continue to do these things. Okay, that was a lot. Yes, I see a hand raised. Yes, Marion, please go ahead.
Hi guys. I wanted to share something with you. We've had an experience where we have Persian friends who never really grew up with the Bible. We've always called them Persian and Iranian, I guess. But anyway, my sister went to visit them, and then she finds out that these two young kids are all about Jesus Christ, and they never went to church or anything. That's one. And then another one, he's a male with his son. And he was telling us that he kept asking his son where he was one day, and he kept evading him, like, Dad, I'll call you back, call back. And then finally he's like, I'm a church dad. And he was shocked. And I just have a feeling like there's a lot of youth out there, even though, Charlie Kirk and all his people might not have understanding, there are a lot of young people that are like these people that don't really know, they just are thirsting for something and maybe they just don't know where. And I know we can't have a separate message. And I don't know where these young people are on TikTok. I'm glad to see some of the people are on TikTok. I think I see Vincent has messages on there. I don't have TikTok, but I don't know where the youth really congregate. These are mostly high school and entering into college. But I was really encouraged. I was quite shocked, to tell you the truth. And I just think there's a lot of young people. Um, that are out there. That's
Yeah,
all.
I think that's a very accurate statement that God's saving a great multitude. And Chris has said there's going to be lots of young people. And how encouraging is that? That's why when you're tracting, I may not be on TikTok. I personally don't like that app. So it's kind of hard for me to, get in there. So hopefully God could move some people to have a mission by using TikTok to post. I know Sir Tommy's been using RedNote, and he's given us some instructions on the best way to use RedNote. I think that's what it's called. And you can hear stories about China. And you're hearing how China's opening up more and how, they're developing. And so it's very, very encouraging that it's like God is shifting. He's shifting a lot of focus off of the West, and it's kind of moving to the Middle East and to the East. Well, would you agree, Miriam? Would you agree?
Yeah, I do. The Blue Letter Bible has that app. You can see live who is, checking it out. And it is predominantly, I mean, absolutely 90% in America, but you do have them here and there. But I was just going to say, what would be nice also to have videos of our younger people out there. Like when I was listening to camping, I remember the two young people conversing. And so, I love everybody tracking. We need to do that. But a video, like I would love to see somebody as young as, Carl looks young and Jeffrey, there's some young looking people and Eddie, like, just youth, just so it can attract the youth because sometimes young people might be much more attracted to see that. I know the message is what's important, but you just don't know how it works. And I would just like to, I don't know, just for us to think about that too.
Oh, I think about it quite a bit. And the young people, they're very socially connected. If they are to track, because it's very engaging, they're very concerned about their reputation. So hopefully God would strengthen them to put their own personal fears aside, and that they would see that, God has saved a great multitude and we're not here for self-preservation. You know,
And
people
Sarah
have different.
Seaman, wherever she is, I haven't seen her in a while, but she's very youthful girl and she does track out there, and I have seen her photos about there.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
just I just think it would be more encouraging for them because they wouldn't be so scared like to talk to the adult about these things. That's all. Thank you, Gary. Thanks
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you. So maybe we can find a way uh, for folks who are younger, instead of, let's say, they're discouraged tracking, maybe they can do things on their own, maybe like a selfie shot, or they could have a word of encouragement if that is what's in the way of maybe they can't extend their hand to someone else because that's not part of their makeup, but maybe they can try something. So health permitting, time permitting, if they're able to, maybe we can start finding some ways for folks to be encouraged. If you're listening and you're young and you'd like to do something, like, we'd love to have you on some of these teams, please pray about it. Please pray that God would give you the courage to do it, to not put your needs first, to walk in Christ's footsteps. and to be a servant. Yes, Tommy, do you have any updates, sir?
Yeah,
On Red?
so I met quite a few young people from Indonesia who
Oh,
spoke English, and we exchanged number on WhatsApp, and we got into conversation about biblical timelines. So what I did was I sent Carl that video Carl did with the timeline of 2033 to quite a few of them, and they were watching and they were very interested. So let's keep God in prayer with those young men, and they're also learning English. So
oh.
I'm going to send them some more pamphlets. I don't know if we have anything in Indonesian. Uh, do
I
we
think
have it?
I think we saw some videos on YouTube with Indonesia in the Indonesian language, right? Right, Carl?
There may be, but we're also putting up a website pretty soon, an Indonesian website, and hopefully some content as well
So
to go
there
with.
are quite a few Indonesians who are Christians. It's a Muslim nation, but the ones I've talked to are young Christian males. Um, and so I'm reaching to that country and gather young men who um, want to know more about this Bible timeline, and they're very interested.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Thank you, Tommy. May God bless your efforts. Could it be that God would, strengthen you and folks, if you have some international backing or family history, what better way to think about how you can share this message? Look, it's only what 40 of us on this. Look, the Lord is we don't have this massive army. We're weak and beggarly. We're not this huge, massive army. And people, could you imagine if there were hundreds of people and thousands of people? That's what mankind looks at. God, He works with things that are not mighty, but few.
I think
So
that's why a lot of people jumped on board around May 21. They saw the numbers, they saw how big the campaign was. And so I think that that might have played a role, in how a lot of people kind of jumped on the bandwagon and then right after they just went away.
they see, hey, if everybody else is doing it, I better do it too. So
Hmm.
I think it's going to be super exciting as the time progresses. People are asking questions now. They're asking questions now. They're looking for. I don't want to use this word, but they're like on a hunt. They want to find out who's behind all of this turmoil, and they're seeking to root it out with great fervor. Whether it's investigations or conspiracy theories, or they're blaming the media or whomever, they are really incensed, and because God is also turned man against themselves, but they want to know what's going on in the world and who's to blame.
It does seem like they're on a hunt for truth, though, because a lot of people don't trust like institutions, governments anymore. So it
Yeah,
seems like they're definitely on that hunt for truth.
yeah, and wait till they start going to the church and they keep telling the same information,
Yeah.
and they're like, no man knows, but you
Yeah.
can see the signs, but
I
we
think
don't
that's
talk
gonna
about that.
I have a feeling that's gonna change, as more institutions, God continues to judge them. I can't see people I think the distrust would continue across the board.
Right, think about that. You got all these denominations. We were just hearing from Eddie. You think at some point they would say, hey, you think we might want to figure out what's the truth here? I
Hmm.
mean, you're believing in free will. You're saying election. You're a Calvinist. You got the age of accountability. You're speaking in tongues. You think at some point somebody's gonna be like, you guys notice like how disoriented you guys are? You all have different beliefs, and you all don't just come together to figure out what's the truth.
Well,
Somebody's gonna say, and you know what's gonna happen. It's gonna become this wave, and then everybody's gonna be like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
but then again, you have a growing dark. It seems like people are also further being deceived by their own, like people are locking down more if they're Catholic, they're showing up more. But maybe that will change. But it does seem like there's definitely, if they're already in darkness, it seems like they're just kind of spiraling down more too.
Well, according to the Bible, God says they will seek death and not be able to find it.
Hmm.
So they're probably going to, you know, have their conferences, their meetings, and they're going to say, well, we've come to the conclusion that there is a truth. What it is, we don't know. you know, who knows? There'll be some variant like that. But yes, there will be some kind of investigation. But as far as the result, if the door is shut, so they're going to seek death but not be able to find it.
Yep.
Yeah. So Carl, thank you for your patience. If
Yep.
you don't mind, could you just give us the basics once again, and just know that this is not the AP class. This is,
You guys
I
better
don't know
buckle
what they
up.
call it in high school. You got there's college prep, there's AP.
Mhm.
What do they
No,
call that?
this is well, I just wanted to just give a quick update on the upcoming website because I've mentioned this a few times. There's going to be a new website launching hopefully sometime soon, but it's going to have all of the links. This is something that's long been needed, but all the links to different websites and social media platforms. Like we have a lot of Facebook groups people may not be aware of, and then we also have Facebook pages that they may not be aware of. So on our website, we're going to have all these links
Very,
published.
very nice. If you
Yeah.
don't mind, could you, where it says publish the truth, you could say for tracking videos in parentheses.
So if
That's
you
just
click that,
yeah.
there you go. Yep.
Please remember, folks, please subscribe to this channel. If you don't subscribe, YouTube's like, well, if you guys don't care about it, if you're an e-Bible listener and you're not subscribed, YouTube's like, well, it can't be good because you're not even subscribed to it. If you know what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say,
Well-
if you're not even subscribed to it, why would YouTube recommend it to someone else? Like you're not even subscribed to it.
Well, to make it easy, once this launches, you just click the link, publish the truth. If you don't know how to subscribe, because that might be an issue. This is also a long, like, name to type in. So if you
It
click the
sure
link-
is because we use our Roku for that, and my son, it takes him like a half a minute to type publish the truth.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
it-
this way it's a link. So if you go back, if once this page is up, you just click publish the truth, and if you want to subscribe, you'll see I'm subscribed, but you're gonna see subscribe. So
Right.
and then you go ahead and do that for any YouTube channel. And we actually made it.
Do you have any bigger buttons for that? I know if it's easier to find. I know if somebody really wants to find it, they're
I
not.
did put this one up. Subscribe.
Which one is that for? The
This
e-Bibles
one,
main
this is
page?
just for our regular channel. Yeah, and this is our regular homepage. But when
What if
this
somebody wanted to find the tracking channel? They would have to find these.
Yeah,
These ones
this is
down
going
here.
to be this is the original current page. This is going to be the new look. So it's going to be just all the links. Generally, websites have links at the bottom, but we also have all these social media links here. When it comes to websites, a lot of people want certain things at the top, but you really have to. There's only so much you can fit on the
It's
top.
like real estate. You got it. It's like real estate.
Yeah, it's exactly like real estate. You have to figure out what's the most needed, and generally things like this are top priority. People want to listen to the player, which is actually right here, and that's another thing. We're going to be updating our player soon. They want to join the Zoom. That's got to be at the top. Literature, so things like that, about contact, donate, all those things, and then everything else, can kind of just follow below. But I've updated the times for like the Bible Exalted. So if you want to know when that program starts, you'll have that here. You can even click this link. That'll take you right to the channel. So everything's being set up just to make it as easy as possible to access all this stuff. We also have the schedule for like the programming. So we got 1 p.m. We got the Enduring to the End in Spanish, the Bible reading. I've added the Sunday meditation and prayer, which is on in about a little more than 30 minutes. And then we have all like the timeline tools that we built. So we'll have anything relating to timeline, we'll probably go here, including the timeline itself. But this will just be the different tools that people can use. So yeah, but we can get right into it.
But don't forget, this is just a recap of a recap.
Yeah. Well, actually, I kind of finished up what we are going through last time. So the purpose of this would be to kind of clarify some things because a few people had reached out to me and they actually had a way to improve.
Right, but please don't go there
understanding.
yet because remember, if we get new information and we still haven't grasped the original information, it can just further.
Yeah, we could start from the beginning, but this would just have to be mentioned to show.
Of course.
Yeah.
Remember, we've got a couple of years by God's grace.
Yeah.
Couple years, so we could. But I tell you this: if I'm passing out tracts, and someone comes to me and says, "How'd you get to this date?" And I say, "Here's a link." And they say, "No, no, I want you to tell me. How did you get to this date?"
Oh, yeah, forget
And
about
if I
that.
can't, if I don't have a mastery of what I strongly believe, that means I got to do this.
Well,
We
even a lot of people would ask Mr. Camping timeline questions on the open forum,
hmm
and he could only give like simple
Right,
answers.
of
It's just not a
course.
platform to be
Right,
laying out the timeline of history is probably one of like the more complicated doctrines in the Bible. There's
of
just so
course.
much involved with it. This is like getting to the more advanced part of the timeline.
Right. But I do think it's our
Uh,
responsibility as stewards God tells us to be good stewards. And, me personally, I'm not very strong with the timeline.
yeah.
So I think this is imperative for us to learn, and we can take small bites. And
Yeah, and if people want to know what this is, the purpose of this is so the timeline goes over years. Like when you look at the biblical timeline of history,
Mhm.
the primary focus is it doesn't get into days and months. Let me go to this site here. It's all focused on years, like the year Adam was born. But you'll notice that we don't have like dates for that.
Well,
Was
in,
it
in
in
certain
May?
verses, God, yeah, in certain verses, God might give, but for the most part, it's years, right?
Yeah, and not to say we can't figure it out. It's just when Mr. Campion obviously first started going through the timeline, it was focused on years. I think I said born, but really created, right? Because Adam wasn't born. He was born from the ground, put it that way. So so we have like Adam's birth year, we have his death year, died at 930. And when we go through the timeline, we figure out all the ages of each of the patriarchs. And
If you don't mind, Carl, when in Adam, the first calendar patriarch was established, did we have 30-day months? What was the calendar that God utilized? Was that the same calendar that Noah, as a patriarch, the second
yeah,
month, the
so
17th day, the
it
600
could
Noah's
yeah,
life?
there's multiple calendars in the Bible, and there is a calendar that we're looking into that potentially would go all the way back to Noah and also to Adam. Could have been the same calendar. Even Mr. Camping had kind of started looking into that. So, but that part's been a little bit less clear as far as because as soon as the Exodus came in 1447 BC,
Mhm.
the Earth was already 9,566 years old. So it's almost reached its 10,000th era. Give or take 434 years, whatever.
And not to
Um,
mention, societies were more advanced. They were using plumbing systems, construction, levees,
yeah.
astronomy. Yeah,
Well, it was just God's timing to change the calendar at this point.
right.
But all before they were using a different calendar. All before this red line, they were using a different. It was still a Hebrew calendar, but it didn't start with Nisan 1 became the first month, but the previous calendar didn't start with Nisan 1. You know, it could have been the seventh month of the previous calendar. And
When
God,
was the Hebrew language established at the Tower of Babel?
the Bible doesn't really get into that. Yeah, we don't really know. I guess. I
Must be
mean,
the Tower. Must be the Tower of Babel, right?
maybe. Yeah, that's when and we don't have an exact date for that. But anyways, just to conclude with this just gets into the year. So what we're doing, but as Mr. Camping went down through the timeline,
Uh huh.
as soon as you got to past the Exodus, actually the Exodus would be the first time he was able to put a date, an actual month and day on this event. So it wasn't just 1447 BC where they left. He was able to figure out it was actually March 21st, 22nd of 1447 BC when they actually exited out of the land of Egypt. So now we have the month and the day. So this
That's
is getting down.
because God gave Moses a calendar reference, right? When he talked about this shall be.
Yeah. He gave us a new calendar, and with that new calendar, we were able to figure out the exact proleptic Gregorian date. So that would have been our March,
Right,
21st
or
in our
equivalent.
calendar. Yeah. Obviously the Gregorian calendar didn't exist then, but if we were to project it back as though it did exist, it would accurately be placed on March 21st of 1447. And so from there, but again, you don't really have too many dates. A history does give dates like the fall of Babylon. They have that at
But
I think
Noah's flood, we had a day, month, year, right?
well we do have a day and a month, but we don't necessarily have a Gregorian date. I mean, we could figure it out we could figure it out using the Exodus calendar, but we don't, whatever calendar Noah was using at the time, we have yet to figure out what date that would be.
Gotcha.
But history actually dates the fall of Babylon to August 11th, I believe, 539 BC. That's just a secular source. But again, we'd have to, and then the Bible does give months and days, so we could probably figure out this information. But it wasn't really until Christ where Mr. Camping was really able to figure out exact days, like the birth of Christ being October 1st of 7 BC. So now we not only do we have the year, we have the month and the day. And that basically, because the reason why is because it's only a 2,000-year span, you know, from 1994 to Christ's birth. So 2,000 years makes it a little easier it's less time, but it's also not just that. God just got into more detail as far as those exact dates, because we needed to know those dates and in order to figure out, like May 21, for example, how Mr. Camping arrived at May 21 actually started with the cross, understanding actual dates here.
So someone writes, did the Jews have 30-day months?
Yeah. And as far as 30-day months, it appears that was the case before the Exodus, at least at the time of Noah's calendar. Now, I don't know if we can be certain that the same calendar was in use from the Exodus all the way back to Adam. How do we know there wasn't, you know, a calendar during Noah's day and then a different calendar in the beginning? I don't. It could be that they used the same calendar. You would have to find something that would indicate otherwise, but at least with Noah, the Bible lets us know that it appears to be 30-day months because they're on the ark for exactly. It says like they entered the ark on the 17th day of the second month, and the ark rested the 17th day of the 7th month. So that's exactly 5 months, which is 370 days. So God was using exact 5 months is 30. Sorry, it was 150 days that the flood waters were upon the earth. So 30
The
times
entire
5.
year. Yeah.
So if the ark, if Noah entered into the ark on the 17th day of the second month, and then 5 months later, the ark rests, that's 150 days. And so so it appears to be 30-day months. But again, that's something that has to be studied out more. So basically what this tool is doing is this is really helping us to calculate exact months and days for any given year. So we'll start again from the beginning. Let's just start with, so you can type in any year in history. So we'll type in 2011, right?
So what is the purpose of this exercise? Just to cleanse the palate of our minds, Carl.
So the purpose of this would be if we can find an anchor date in any given year.
What is an anchor date? Is this a date that we can go forward and backwards so we can
It's a date where we can link the solar and the lunar calendar together. So if we can, so you'll notice with on this calendar, you notice I have Gregorian dates like April, but then also have the Hebrew date.
Yes.
So we were able to link April 17th with Nisan 13-14, right?
So you're converging two dates to land on the same day.
Yeah, just think of it like a lock or a chain. You know, you're able to link.
You're linking it.
Right. So, and because we've discussed how they're different calendars, the Gregorian date will fluctuate because the solar is longer than the Hebrew. And so you're never going to have a perfect, you know, if this was perfect, Nisan 13-14, that would be January 13-14 of our calendar.
So there are two circles that are not the same size. And because they're not the same size, they're going to have two different synchronizations. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Basically, I think that would be one way to put it. So in other words, because we have Passover as our anchor date, if we can figure out we have the date Nisan 14, that's Passover. If we can figure out in what year in 2011, what Gregorian date connects with Nisan 14, then we can map out the rest of the year. So if we can figure out, in April of 2011, Passover occurred on the 17th of April, which is Nisan 14, then that means we have a starting point right here. So that means we can map out the next day and the next day. You can just keep on going for the rest of the year all the
So
way down to December 31st, and that will get us to Beth 5/6 in their calendar.
so a good analogy would say, okay, a ruler is 12 inches, but it's also 30 centimeters. They are two different units of measure, and they're coming to the same conclusion, but because they're two different, you have to do some kind of conversion. And so if you have 2 inches, there's an equivalent measurement of centimeters, right? But it's still the same measurement. They're just on two different measuring planes.
Yeah, I
Would
mean,
that
it's
be
trying
accurate?
to you're trying to sync up two different types of calendars. One is how the Earth goes around the sun, and the
Mhm.
other is the different phases of the moon. It's
Right.
not even the rotation of the moon per se, it's the phases of the moon. So they're two different systems that you're trying to connect. So
That's
this
right. When I
one,
when I when I worked in healthcare, we had to prescribe formula for children, and the doctor would provide formula in powder, but I had to convert it to ounces. So I had to convert grams to ounces.
yeah,
It's
that's
the
probably a good
same.
way to
It's
look
the
at it.
same thing. They're both
Yeah.
measurements, but you have to converge that. You have to convert it, even though it's the same. But
Yeah,
they're two
yeah.
different measuring
That's a good way.
scales.
That's actually a good way to view it. It's yeah, exactly. So 1 gram could equal how many ounces?
Exactly. And
Whatever
what
that
made
is.
it exactly there's a
Yeah.
conversion rate.
Yeah. So that's what this is. There's a conversion. You're converting the the Hebrew calendar, lunar calendar, to the solar calendar. You're figuring out what that would equate to exactly. It's a conversion. That's a good way to put it. So with that said, if we have an anchor date for every year, if we know what Passover is, we can accurately map out the rest of the year. So that's what this tool is doing, is it's calculating the math right here. And then this one is simply just doing the exact same math, but it's just building us a visual calendar to see these dates. So we're going to go through this math again because there is a correction. There is some updated information that two people had made me aware of that actually helped me to figure it out. And like I said, this is kind of evolving, or I should say improving. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. It's improving. So
They hijacked that word. They hijacked it.
we're
But if
we're
I may ask, Carl, is this separate from the offset that we were just discussing that could fluctuate from a minimum or maximum of 28 days? It can't go above
no. This would be getting into
the,
that
the
convert basically
offset.
the conversion, right? This would be
Yes.
getting into okay. So let's just start with the year 2011, right?
Hmm.
So we have what's called an official date for when an official anchor date for when Christ went to the cross.
Hmm.
That date, let me just move this out of the way.
Was it
That
Nissan?
date is the date is March 31st of 33 AD. This
Okay.
we can prove from the Bible. And so this becomes an anchor date for Passover when Christ went to the cross. Now, March 31st is when he was in the garden, but that was also April 1st. It's the same day of Nisan, because our days overlap with the Hebrew day. It's
Okay. Can
not.
you repeat that just one more time? I felt a little bit fuzzy.
Yeah, so you'll notice you look like on April 17th, it overlaps two Hebrew days. Part of Nisan 13, part of Nisan 14.
That's because of the evening morning time.
Right, because when they start their day, we don't start our day the same day they start their day. So
Right.
everything's offset about the two different calendars. When they start their day, when they start their year. Like you'll notice this is their first month, but this is our fourth month, April. So our fourth month is aligning with their first month. So you see that there's the offset. So it's the same thing with days. So when I say March 31st and April 1st, March 31st would be the day, our Gregorian date when Christ is in the garden. That would have ended as soon as April 1st started. That would be our next day, but that would still be part of the Hebrew Nisan 14 day.
Right. Because that's their own. That's their own.
Right. Their way of measuring when their days start and end. So this is why we always have two dates that are highlighted in orange, just to kind of show that fact that Nisan 14 passes through this date and it also passes through some of this day. That's why we have two, and vice versa. Two of our days, you can do the same thing. Like here, this one, Nisan 13 is on this day, and it's also here on this day.
Right.
So it's two of our Gregorian dates, the 16th and the 17th, right? Okay. So going back to this, so we're going to type in the year 2011. So we're going to start from the cross, which was March 31st, the garden, March 31st of 33 AD, because that's the earliest day you can start with when Christ is in the garden. We don't want to start with April 1st because that's the latter part of Nisan 14. We're starting at the earliest that we can start with,
Now,
which is March.
could you just rephrase that one more time? March 31st, that's the day Christ was crucified. We're
Yeah,
starting from
well,
there.
no, March 31st was the day he's in the garden.
The day he was in, that would be Thursday, right?
That would be Thursday. Yeah.
Okay.
And then April 1st would have been the day portion when he's hanging on the cross. But the reason why we don't start with April 1st is you start with the earliest part of Nisan 14, which would be March 31st. That'd be the earliest into that Hebrew day, right? So this is when Christ is in the garden. He's in an agony, right? March 31st. He's praying, and that's our starting point. And we're seeing how many years transpires from March 31st of 33 AD to whatever year that we type in. So in this case, we're going to type in 2011. We're going to see how many years. And what the calculator does is it calculated exactly 1,978 years.
And we don't care about the days or months at this time, right?
Exactly. We're just trying to figure out how many years span those two from 33 AD to 2011. And it's
Okay.
almost 2,000 years, right? You see that? It's 22 years short. Why? Because we're going through a 22-year period, which this would actually be 2,000 years if we were to type in 2033. It's exactly 2,000 years. But we're typing in 2011, so we're 22 years short of 2,000.
Mhm.
And we're going to take that amount of years from March 31st of 33 AD to March 31st of 2011. That's very exact with the two Gregorian dates. And that would be exactly 1,978 years. And we're going to times that by the tropical year, 365.2422. And that gives us exactly this figure of days. That's 722,449 days, 0.071600. So this is going to be a fractional part of the day right there, anything after the decimal. But we're not worried about that right now. So then you're going to take the days. This is the solar days, right? And we're going to divide it by the average lunar month. Because now we're going to go from solar. This is where we convert. You talked about the conversion from grams to ounces.
Why are we using division to come to the conclusion when we have a solar calendar and a lunar calendar? What made us want to divide it? Are we dividing it by the months of the year, the days of the year? Like what?
Well, the purpose of this division is to figure out how many months or how many lunar months are found in this amount of days. And the reason why is because we need to figure out because remember the solar and the lunar, they don't sync up perfectly. So
we're factorizing now. So if there's 365 days in a year and we want to know how many months are there, we have to use division, right?
right, yeah, you divide the days, the amount of days that are in 1,978 years, that would be this figure here.
Gotcha.
And that amount of days, dividing it by the average lunar month, gives you the amount of months that is. So now we've converted it to months.
So audience, do we all feel comfortable understanding this?
Yeah. And anyone who doesn't raise their hand or if they have a question.
Right.
Gary says normally the audience is quiet and he's not sure if they understand it or if
who's gonna stick their head out and say I don't get it in the class today.
That's
But
all right.
I think this is becoming a little clearer to me that when we're trying to figure out something, the method, let's say if it's a slice of pizza, there's 12 slices, and we want to know, well, how many people can get a slice? We have to use division because you're sharing it out. You can't use
you're just the main goal here is to figure out how many months are in this amount of days right here. That's all it's telling us. So it's telling us in 1,978 years, there's this many amount of days, 722,449. And in 722,449 days, there's this amount of months. This is the months right here.
Right. So division would be the method to figure out this factorization of how
exactly.
many.
You need to divide the days into months, just like I don't know if you have like a month and you want to divide it by 4, you know,
Right.
if you 28 days, right? You want to see how many weeks, how many 7-day weeks are in 28 days. You just divide it by 4.
Exactly.
You know, you get the amount of days divided by 4 will give you 7-day weeks, right?
Right. Right.
It's kind of similar to that. So here, now that we have this, the amount of months, we're interested in this fractional month right here. We're not interested in the how many even months. We're interested in
Now,
this
why
fractional.
would we be interested in the fractional month? What benefit will we get out now that we've got all these months and there's a little bit left over? That's not even a full month. What would be the purpose if we're trying to determine how many years something is?
Because this
Why
fractional,
all of a sudden are we into the change, the loose change?
because this month is telling us how many days have passed since the new moon right here. So notice it's 0.43. That's almost halfway through. If we make it up to a full thing, this changes to 24465. So that 0.43 is just letting us know how many days have we entered into the phase of the lunar month here. How many days are we in? You know, like if today's March 15th, we're exactly halfway into the month, right? Roughly, right? March 30, March has 31 days. We've reached the halfway point of this month. Well, right here, this is almost the halfway point in this example. 0.43, it's almost the halfway point into the current average month that we're in right now. So
Does that make sense, everyone? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can?
yeah,
We have
gave
no-
us thumbs up.
I don't mind staying on this particular subject. So the loose change, the 0.432324 represents how much of the portion of the month that has been allocated.
Right. Yeah.
So-
how much of the lunar month have we gone into? Is right.
How
Is this
how
figure.
much have we taken up out of? So let's say 1.0
Yeah, how many
is
days
100.
how many days have passed since we've been in the new moon?
Right. So 43% of the month has been taken up out of those 30 days.
Yeah. Where you
Something,
can
something to that effect.
Right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take that fraction because we need to convert it into days. So 0.43 months is, yeah, we can see it. It's almost half a month, but that doesn't really help us. We need to figure out how many days is this fractional month? How many days have elapsed, right? So what we do is we take this number here, we times it by the average lunar month, and that gives us exactly how many days pass since the new moon. So in this case, from March 31st of 33 AD to March 31st of 2011, 24,464 months and 12.76 days have passed. So we've made it this far into that fractional month, 12.76 days. So almost 13 days. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd like to know if the audience feels comfortable because, Carl, I have an image here that I talked to you about a couple of days ago. That the first day of April would have a moon phase, right? The first day of April for every year has a moon phase, right? And it's never going to be the same. Would you agree? Or if it does, there's probably some kind of pattern. Does that have anything to do?
Just so we don't lose the train of thought here, I'll get into that in just a second, just to kind of keep the flow going, and then get right into that.
But that has nothing to do with that, right?
It might. I would have to.
Okay.
I just don't want to kind of add more layers at the
Yes.
moment.
You got it.
So the 0.43 is just letting us know that we've made it. This is how many even months have passed from March 31st, 33 AD when Christ was in the garden, all the way to March 31st of 2011. That's how many even months that have passed. But what's after the decimal is we're somewhat into the next month.
Right. So that means it can't go to 465 yet because it's not a full month. It's like a portion of a month.
Exactly. So now that we have that fractional month and we've times it by the average lunar month, that gave us how many days that is.
So you converted the loose change into the loose change from the lunar calendar
Yep.
into a lunar month to figure out how much actually 0.43 of a month actually is?
Exact. How many days we've made it into the month? So there's 24,464 months here,
Mm-hmm.
and the 0.43 is
The
an additional
leftover
12
the
days.
leftover change of a month. It's not a
Yeah,
full month.
right. We've made it 12.76 days into that month. If we were to have finished off the month, then it would be an even 24465.
And
It would
someone asked how many lunar months inside the total amount of solar days. Isn't that 350? What was it? 354?
352 point. Yeah, so there's about a difference of 11 days with that. But this is a little different
Okay.
math here.
Someone
But
just asked.
basically, I think this is the easiest way to explain it is that this is the even amount of months. We made it with a fractional month. So we've made it by the time we get to March 31st of 2011, we've made it an even amount of months, the 24,464 plus an additional 12.76 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now that we have this figure, we'll set that aside.
Mm-hmm.
And what the next step does, it doesn't show it here. I got to fix that. But basically, if you minus this figure against the average lunar month, that will let you know how many days are left. It's obvious math, right? If you've made it 12.76 days into a month.
I'm a little bit confused now. Now, here's where I'm getting confused. We got the leftover change to 0.432324. Now we're trying to convert this portion almost to half of a month, and how we did that was that we got that loose change to 0.4324, and we times it by the lunar month. Why did we do the lunar month for this?
Because you have to figure out how many lunar days.
Oh, because that's the calendar that we're working in.
Yeah, yeah. So in other words, our idea is to figure out how many days this is the current month we're in. So we've
Yes,
made
sir.
these months have passed,
Oh,
the
okay.
even months. And by the time we get to March 31st of 2011,
Now we're converting. I think I understand now. We got the
yeah,
loose change of a
we're
month,
converting the loose change, and that's letting us know exactly how much into this
and
fractional month.
we're holding it up against the of what we'd like to convert it into. So from let's
Yeah.
say from this to that, now we need to hold it up against the framework that we want to convert it to. That's why we're using the 29.53, because that's what a lunar
Right.
month would hold, right?
Exactly. We're using an average lunar month. We're not doing 31 days or 30 days or 28 days. It's just the average lunar month because we use 30, 31 in our calendar, but that's just to get an even 365. But we know it's not even. So this is why we go by the average lunar month.
Okay, so if I can recap, 1978, we divided it by, or I'm sorry, we multiplied it by 365. So that's a solar year divided by a solar day. That gave us a solar number. We got the solar number, divided it by a lunar month, and we converted it into the total number of lunar months that it would be.
Yeah, right there.
Then we got the loose change from the lunar month, and we multiplied it by a lunar month to give us a lunar month total of days.
Yeah, and we're the current date we're on right here
Mm-hmm.
is we're on March 31st of 2011, the 14th. So that's two possibilities there. And the other two possibilities if we use the 13 figure. So we shift 13 days forward, that gives us April 13th, or we shift 13 days backwards, that gives us March 18th. So that gives us four possibilities for every year because you have two different numbers here and you have two different ways of shifting forward or backwards.
I really appreciate that you finished your sentence, but I did not digest any of that. But I'm glad you finished your sentence. I know you wanted to say it. I think there are some intelligent folks in the audience that probably digested it, but I'm glad you said it because if you don't mind, brother, not next Sunday because that's the day in the Word. Now that we've gotten up to line 4, I think we all feel comfortable up to step 4. Now we can go back, go to step 5 and figure out about this 13, 17, and then the forward backward motion that you're just bringing up. So I
You'll
really
see here, this figure right here, it says days left.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 16.76 days, and days past is 12.76. It's really simple. This is how many days have passed in the month. This is how many days are left over.
I'm sure it's
So,
really simple.
so this math has subdivided the month to
Right.
16.76 into
But
12.76.
we're gonna get really comfortable with this, so we don't have to
Yeah.
quickly like spit it out. We're gonna chew on this again, and I personally feel a lot more comfortable from steps 1 to 4. So then we can recap step 1 to 4 again, and then we can start cooking on the step
Okay,
5
and
about the.
we'll get to this later, but I just typed in 1994 because Mr. Camping had reasoned with the Bible that Passover was on March 26th. So given these four options, March 26th was the date for Passover in 1994.
Excellent.
So I think using the Bible, we can figure out which of the four possibilities will get
Right.
us the date of Passover.
And Lord willing, we'll just shore that up, repeat it again, and then
Yeah.
we'll build up from step
And if
4
you
to
click
step 6.
these toggles, these will change the direction. So you'll get a different result here. Or if you do days left versus days have passed in the month.
I don't even know if they know enough to feel comfortable even hitting that toggle. But maybe the audience is far more advanced than I
Just keep
am.
it to the audience.
That's right. Yeah, because they're not speaking. I'm their representative. I'm going to be their representative. So thank you very much, Carl. This is really, really helpful. I think this is fantastic.